The Tasmanian car parts manufacturer ACL Bearings is so critical to the Australian car industry that millions of taxpayer dollars have been spent unsuccessfully trying to keep it solvent. Last month the company went into administration, and while the business should survive, it's likely to be without many of the 350 workers who have sacrificed part of their pay over the last year to keep it afloat. The workers' anger has been heightened by revelations they'll miss out on redundancy payments, while 2 directors received a large payout at a time the company was being propped up by government money. Connor Duffy reports from Tasmania.
The parts that are produced at the ACL Bearings factory in Launceston may be tiny, but for more than 40 years, thousands of jobs in the Australian car industry have depended on them.
This is, I believe, the only bearing plant of Repco in Australia. How did it come to be here in Launceston?
Today, though, despite the demand for its products, the company is facing its darkest days. A receiver is calling the shots on the factory floor, and any day now these workers could lose their jobs, despite working at reduced pay for several months.
You take $100 out of someone's pay on a single wage and it hurts, it really hurts.
The character of these people having taken a day's pay cut and continuing to do that and then work through these times is fantastic, but yeah, look, it's tough.
More than $7 million of taxpayers' money has been poured into ACL to keep the company alive. And after the last $5 million injection in June, the company insisted it would survive.
We would certainly welcome this support as being quite a profound contribution to the future of the company.
The government was keen to spend the money because Ford in particular can't source these shell bearings anywhere else. And just as car engines depend on them to keep ticking over, Ford's production line would grind to a halt without them.
We are a critical supplier, and if we weren't supplying product, that car company would be unable to manufacture motor vehicles, and that would have ramifications right throughout the industry.
Ford is so concerned by the future of ACL, it's appointed its own receiver. And while the company may continue, many of its 350 workers will be the big losers. Today, at a press conference, the receivers said the number of job losses could be as high as 120.
Unfortunately, job losses are a very sad aspect that really did need to occur for ACL to be viable going forward.
The decision on exactly which workers will be sacked will come in the next few days and will be made harder because the company can't pay the millions it owes workers in redundancies.
I'm losing out big time. My payout would have been upwards of $80,000 and my payment that I'll get from the government will be $20,000.
All our plans are just gone. They're gone.
Many of these employees have been here for over 18 years. It's a very long-standing workforce, and so they're likely to suffer a shortfall of around 80 weeks in their redundancy. So it's a significant sum for a lot of people.
So it's effectively a year and a half's pay?
Yeah, there's almost 2 years when you add all of the entitlements that they'll miss out on.
The anger at missing out has taken on a sharper edge after it was revealed 2 directors have been receiving hefty monthly redundancy payments for more than a year. Mike Sayward and John Capuano began receiving the payments just after a federal government grant to save the company in mid-2008. Mr Sayward got $400,000 and Mr Capuano about $260,000.
It's a totally unacceptable situation where we've got 300 employees, long-serving, loyal employees of ACL Bearings that are now faced with the prospect of not only losing their jobs, but losing $30 million of accrued entitlements.
On a monthly basis, you probably had employees taking a pay cut of around $400 a week, and we're talking about people on the factory floor who are often living hand to mouth, and yet we had over $20,000 paid to directors who weren't working here at a time when the business was struggling and they were seeking money from governments and from other suppliers to help them to survive.
It's a hot topic for the workers on their lunch breaks, and today a union rep is telling the workers they're trying to recover the money.
If we manage to get that, and I wouldn't want anyone to hold their breath and go blue, but if we do, then what will happen is that'll go back into the kitty.
The man who authorised the payments is Ivan James, who says he's lost more than $8 million with the company's collapse and worked for $1 a week for 4 months to help save the company. He stands by the decision, saying the payments were authorised back in 2008 and were the directors' legal entitlements under their contracts.
The company had been stabilised and nobody had any knowledge that coming over the horizon was a global financial crisis.
But you'd still received $2 million in government assistance just
Correct.
Before that. It's not like things were all plain sailing.
No.
The two directors who were paid out both refused requests for interview but defended the payments in statements.
In no way have I acted illegally or immorally, and for the second time in my working life with ACL, I had been prepared to put all of my entitlements at stake. From a personal point of view, all of my investment and the investment of the other directors and shareholders has gone.
People may be concerned by the quantum of the payment. However, I repeat, it covers only my accrued annual and long service leave and 1.4 weeks salary per year of service.
But workers like Gary and Sonia Budgeon, who put in 23 years at ACL, say they were continually assured the company would pull through and their entitlements would also be guaranteed. The 7:30 report has obtained a letter signed by Ivan James in 2007 that guaranteed workers' entitlements.
ACL Bearing Company has sufficient assets to pay these entitlements when they fall due, plus any severance pay owing to any employee who is made redundant, and all such entitlements are guaranteed by ACL.
I say it's just part of the big con. I think we've been conned right from the word go. In April 2008, both governments gave us a $2.3 million payout. 8 weeks after that, he paid 2 of his directors $500,000 in payouts. It just sticks in your throat.
Can you understand the concern though when workers on the average wage are sacrificing a day's pay and these two directors who are in Melbourne are getting these lump sum payments of $20,000 every month? Why people that are now, losing their jobs are so concerned about this?
Yes, I can understand the concern, but at the same time, a contract is a contract. At the time...
The workers' contracts aren't being honoured in terms of their redundancies.
That's something for the administrator to work out going forward from here.
It's understood the federal government and receivers are now running a fine-tooth comb over the company's books to examine how the last $5 million taxpayer support package was spent.
We are absolutely convinced that this company does have a future, but we'll be certainly interested to see why it found itself in this situation within weeks of receiving a government-assisted payment.
And while it seems the lights won't be going out at ACL anytime soon, there's still plenty of painful days ahead as it moves to ensure its survival and the survival of the Australian car industry.
That report from Connor Duffy.